held. The Lib Dem leader Jo Swinson has rejected the idea but says she's willing to speak with other parties.
Crashing out of the EU without any deal. The most cavalier and catastrophic of Brexits. So in this moment of national emergency, I stand ready to work with anyone to stop Boris Johnson and his hardline Brexit government.
It's been revealed that a second police officer was contaminated with Novichok during the poisonings in Salisbury last year. Scotland Yard has confirmed the nerve agent was found in the blood sample of another officer, as well as Detective Sergeant Nick Bailey. They both received medical treatment. And the percentage of students getting A's or above at A-level has fallen to its lowest level for 12 years. More than 300,000 students have received their results in England, Wales and Northern Ireland.
Cheers, Leah. We're still enjoying the fallout from that interview with Peter Duffel earlier on, the hole punch expert. Clocked to 204, but his wife's making him give them up because they're moving house, and Peter was reluctant to do so, but philosophical, let's say, about that. There have been calls for his audio diary to be on 5 Live. There are calls for him to have his own show. I'm not going as far as that. I need to feed, I need to feed me dogs.
Maybe a podcast.
I need to feed me dogs somehow. But of course, I did put it out there. I said, look, who's had their collection destroyed for various reasons by perhaps their partner or their family? This is great. Listen to this. Imagine the outrage here on Bridget's behalf. Bridget says, my husband Gavin destroyed my childhood collection of hundreds of book matches. You know those yeah? Okay, I'll start again. Now we all know what I'm talking about. My husband Gavin destroyed my childhood collection of hundreds of book matches by opening them all up and cutting the heads off the matches, each individual match, because they were stored in the loft and he saw them as a potential fire hazard. This wasn't discussed in advance. He only told me when I returned home. I've still not forgiven him.
Wow.
Outrageous, and also very patient.
Very patient. It's taken him a while.
So look, if you've had your dreams shattered by a member of the family while you've been at work, your hobby's been decimated, let me know. 85058 at BBC 5 Live. Here's Katie.
Chris Woakes is the latest wicket to fall for England on day 2 of the second Ashes test at Lord's. That's after the ball hit his helmet. I suppose a brave move from Woakes to just get up and carry on, Ellie Aldroyd. Unfortunately for him, it didn't last long.
Yes, you do wonder whether he might have been affected by that, because he then gloved a ball, another short ball from Pat Cummins, through to Tim Payne to be out for 32. That ended a really good partnership for the 7th wicket. It was 72 between himself and Johnny Bairstow. Bairstow is still there on 41. And Cummins is continuing to bowl it short to Jofra Archer. He's faced 3 bouncers in a row at the start of this over, but he's still there. He's yet to get off the mark. England are 214 for 7.
Thanks, Ellie. We'll be back with you shortly. Commentary continues with the TMS team. That's over on 5 Live Sports Extra right now. Arsenal manager Unai Emery says he's 100% confident that Mesut Ozil and Sead Kolasinac are mentally ready to play against Burnley on Saturday. The pair were involved in a carjacking attempt by an armed gang last month and are yet to feature for fears of their safety. Bury's away fixture against Rotherham on Tuesday has been suspended by the English Football League. That's now their 5th game in a row to be called off due to financial concerns. And Rory McConaughey will win his first England cap ahead of the Rugby World Cup in Japan. After converting from 7s last summer, is one of the most notable picks to the starting 15 to face Wales on Saturday.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live on digital, BBC Sounds, smart speaker and online.
Now time for the travel with Orna.
Thanks, Leah. The M6 still there. On the southbound side, it's all the way down from the Haydock Island to Junction 22 at Newton the Willows. That's because of an accident, and they're now holding the traffic back, so there's a temporary block there. And the queues are now back to the Oral Interchange at Junction 26, linking with the M58. The northbound side is also queuing. That's from Junction 20, heading up towards Junction 21A at the Croft Interchange, where it joins the M62.
5 Live is digital.
On digital, BBC Sounds, smart speaker and online.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Drive with Leah and Tony this afternoon. Our top story, the number of drug-related deaths in England and Wales has reached a record high.
Almost 3,000 cases involved illegal substances, and today's figures from the Office for National Statistics have prompted calls for improved funding for treatment services and moves towards legislation.
Professor Alex Stevens is on the panel that advises the government on drug policy, but he says the advice has been ignored.
In 2016, the Advisory Council on the Misuse of Drugs advised the government that the most important thing to do to reduce the rise in drug-related deaths was to maintain investment in opioid substitution treatment. But since that year, there's been a cut in funding of 27%, and we're continuing to see ever higher levels of drug deaths.
Well, Risha Lancaster's 37-year-old brother Craig died of a heroin overdose in 2013. She now runs a charity set up in his name called Coffee for Craig. They help people in Manchester who are in crisis. Earlier on, I went out with her in the city centre. This northern quarter, over the years, it's been gentrified a bit, hasn't it? It used to be fairly rough, let's say. And even at night, I mean, there were lovely little boutique shops and vinyl shops and all that. But even at night, you will see people sleeping in doorways and that kind of thing. Before we talk more about you helping, just tell me a little bit about Craig. What happened to him?
He was homeless for a number of years. He had mental health problems, and he self-medicated with heroin. And through his illness, he didn't sort of believe that people were helping him, so that's why he turned to their heroin, crack, and alcohol.
Right, and how at the time? Immensely challenging and difficult for him. What was it like for the family? What was it like for you guys?
It was very difficult. Obviously, when someone's down that rabbit hole of despair and addictions, there's not really a lot that you can do to help other than to sort of be there, really. But you can't help at all, really.
The authorities here in Manchester aren't going to like me for saying this, but we're about 100 yards from Piccadilly Gardens, which anyone who knows Manchester is right at the heart of the city. And as well as all the tourists and people doing their daily business, there are people in this area with issues, aren't there?
Oh, definitely. Very complicated issues.
What kind of issues? What are we talking about?
We're talking about addictions, sleeping on the streets, having nowhere to go, hopelessness, having no real help. There's a lot of people with mental health problems, learning difficulties, and basically a lot of people who sort of fall through the net, really.
And this is where a lot of them will come during the day, because it's a place of safety, really, because there are so many people that they know nothing's going to happen to them, although you do see them asleep in doorways around the night. Go on, you disagree?
Yeah, no, I think Piccadilly's probably one of the most dangerous places.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's me, somebody who doesn't live in this world talking, then, isn't it? Go on, tell me why.
Basically, because a lot of people, predators, people like that, know that very vulnerable people come down here, and they come down here to prey on them, basically. There's a lot of fights, there's a lot of turf wars, there's a lot of drug gangs, there's an awful lot of stuff that goes down in Piccadilly that people aren't aware of, really.
How naive do I feel now? We're just here now in Piccadilly Gardens, all I can see at the moment are people eating their lunch and some fountains. There's obviously an underbelly. When you're just waving at somebody there who's sat, I don't know, having a bite to eat, but obviously they've got issues. I don't know what.
He's one of our regular guests who come into the drop-in. He's got complicated issues, and we do what we can to help. But there's not enough services about, and not enough drug services, not enough rehab, not enough places of safety for people to sleep.
I want to talk about that in just a second. Just before we do, we keep saying issues. So what drugs are available here? You know, what will people be doing now, today, tonight?
Heroin, crack, spice, all manner of issues, drugs, anything and everything that they can get hold of, alcohol, just everything, really. And
how is it? Do you feel like King Canute trying to push back the tide? Is there any help? What about resources then? Go on, what have you been given?
Personally, ourselves, we haven't got a lot of resources, but we can. Manchester's quite unique, actually, because we do have a homelessness partnership, we have a homelessness charter, and a lot of the services work together. It's not the issue of services, it's the issue of the services haven't got enough money, they haven't got enough staff, they haven't got enough resources, and they're the ones who are pushing back the tides constantly. And so are we, you know, because we work quite late in the evening, there's quite often nowhere that we can go other than out of hours, and out of hours are inundated, and there's no sort of place, not enough places of safety for people to go in.
Well, back to here again in Piccadilly Gardens. There's grass either side of it now. We're walking across a little bridge. You can hear probably the fountains. Is it getting worse as far as you're concerned? Are you just like a finger in the dike situation at the moment?
Oh, completely. We're just blocking up that hole, and the tidal waves come in and come in and come in. The situation's definitely getting worse, and it's going to get worse, unfortunately. Everybody who's trying to help her, we're all banding together and trying to stop that dam, but we're fighting austerity, we're fighting an insane government, and we're doing all that we possibly can, but they're still cutting, they're still, pushing out austerity, they're messing about with benefits. Housing benefit doesn't fit the rental, sanctions, 0-hour contracts are still going on. There's not enough drug services out there to help people.
And yet, despite all that, people will say it's a choice. These guys and women don't, that. But that's what some people listening to this, which will think.
They will, but it's not a choice. People don't choose to be out here. What happens is they have no choice but to be out here. They find themselves on the street. There's no priority of need. The town hall haven't got anywhere to put people. So the only way that they control the situation that they've got is to choose to be out here. They don't choose to be out here whatsoever.
I've walked through this centre a million times at night, and seen people on drugs. You see them comatose practically. And what's the best thing we can do to help? Give them a few quid, or what do we do?
For me, and there's a lot of people who think, give them money. I don't necessarily think you should give money, but you should always smile at someone, you should always say hello. A lot of people who I've spoken to said that the worst thing about sleeping out is the fact that you just feel invisible, you feel like a pigeon. Many people choose to sleep during the day because it's so dangerous at night. Gangs of youths come out and beat people up. People come and smash tents, set fire to tents. We have people come in on a regular basis with no shoes because their shoes are nicked. It's a jungle out there, really.
I was talking there in the centre of Manchester to Risha Lancaster. Her brother died of a heroin overdose, and she now runs a charity helping vulnerable people who are homeless. On the issue of drugs and this report saying numbers of deaths are increasing, the government says every drug-related death is a tragedy. While drug misuse is at similar levels to a decade ago, we're absolutely committed to reducing it and the harms it causes. We have commissioned a major independent review of drugs, which will look at a wide range of issues, including the system of support and enforcement around drug misuse, in order to inform our thinking about what more can be done to tackle the harm from drugs. We'll have a little bit more on this later on in the programme. It's 14 minutes past 5.
The Home Secretary, Priti Patel, is defending a campaign which puts messages about knife crime on fast food chicken boxes. Now, more than 200 shops will be using the packaging across England and Wales, and printed inside are explanations by young people about why they've chosen hobbies, say, like boxing and music, instead of carrying a knife. Now, the Shadow Home Secretary, Diane Abbott, said the plan was crude and offensive, but Priti Patel accused her of playing politics with knife crime. 5 Live's been asking people in East London what they think of the plan.
All the money going into putting those things on the chicken boxes, it could be going into, it's a waste, it could be going into youth clubs, initiatives that can help them stop knife crime. The chicken box is a waste of time, energy and money.
It doesn't make sense, basically. We know that already.
Who's going to read it? Who's going to be it?
I think that's so disrespectful, because it's reinforcing that stigma of the young culture and the young stereotype, and that's exactly what they're doing. They're just basically doing exactly what we don't like them as a government to do.
I think the government, they need to take a real hard look at themselves and take a proper stance tackling knife crime, because it's not really stopping that. I see the news and it's increasing day by day even more. I just think the problem's getting worse, and I don't think they really have a solution. In Parliament, I see them debating. They look like clowns. I don't think they're serious. I don't think they care about the people, working class people like us, the people who really suffer.
Start from early. So if you can't stop knife crime, I think all that saying that, keeping people off the road, do this, do that, none of that's going to work. If you want to prevent knife crime for the future, start from the way early. Start bringing youth centres from 12 to 13 years old.
Across the country, they're closing down community centres, they're closing down youth clubs, and the youth have nothing to do. They have nothing to be preoccupied with. They're out there doing whatever they want to do. It's not going to help. So like those pictures are not going to affect no one. People are trying to ignore it.
Omar Sharif is a former gang member and many of his friends were killed by knife crime. He now runs his own company. Omar inspires, helping young people and others change their lives. And he joins us now on Drive. Hi, Omar.
Hi.
Didn't really go well with the kids in East London there, but what do you make of the plan?
Well, to be honest, it's great that someone has tried to do something, but I think not a lot of thought has gone behind this, because alright, they spent what, £55,000 to £60,000 on this initiative, and it isn't the best way to spend money. Now, in a day and age where there are, social activists and campaigners like myself who have their own companies or other youth centres who are, begging literally for funding, not myself, but, half of that money would have been so useful for them to have done something positive. There are people I know who are going out there who are taking knives off young people and have their own amnesty, and, that is seeing a real fall in knife crime because they're dealing with it head on. But this, putting the messages on a chicken box, hoping someone's going to see it and change the way they feel towards knife crime, I just think it's just a shot in the dark, really.
I mean, I know the people that go into these chicken shops. I grew up in an area of London where they were everywhere. You know, you've got young Bangladeshi boys, you've got black boys, but you've also got white boys going into these chicken shops. Is this really the right way? Because I know some people on social media today have been saying, well, it's stereotypes. Diane Abbott wasn't happy with it. What do you make of that sort of racial element to it?
I was trying to separate race from the whole initiative because at the end of the day, again, where I grew up, there was a chicken shop every 50 metres in the direction that you walked it. And you'd find anyone in any colour in that shop in any race. Now, for them to be talking about stereotypes, I think it's not really a race issue. It's talking about young men between the ages of, 14 to 21, I'd say, and expecting that, they don't really have money, so this is the kind of place that they hang around, and this is the type of food that they eat. So in regards to them feeling offended by this, it's probably them saying, well, don't you think that we can afford to eat anywhere else? Why don't you put this on the lid of a Pizza Hut box or a Domino's box rather than a chicken shop? So they have that stance. And the reason why they feel that way is because young people in nowadays always feel targeted. So we're not speaking to them in the way they'd like to be spoken to or to be even engaged with. It's going to give them more reason to put their back up.
So what made a difference for you then?
To be honest, unfortunately, it took a series of events. As you mentioned there are friends of mine who I know who have died from knife crime. Myself getting attacked, stabbed in the leg with a screwdriver twice, and a combination of all these things happening, and the realization that I used to carry a knife at one point in my life to try and protect myself if it ever came to that situation. But then I realised, actually, if I ever use that knife, I then become part of the problem. I'm then another young black man who's killed someone. So actually carrying this knife is going to do me more harm than good. So what I thought about was consequence. Because what I realised in the work that I do is that young people nowadays don't think about consequences. It's just living in the moment, very, an impulse decision. I spent a lot of time by myself.
Still backing up to the Oral Interchange at junction 26. That's where it joins the M58, and this is because of an accident which happened a good while ago now. And on the M6 northbound through Cheshire, it's also looking slow from 20, heading upwards, the M56 up to the M62 at junction. The M1 in South Yorkshire on the southbound side, 33 at Catcliffe. There was a breakdown which is gone, heading towards the M18 at 32. The M3, a breakdown as well. That's on the southbound side, junction 3 at Bagshot, but all lanes reopened again. And the clockwise M25, queuing from 13 at Staines, heading towards 14 at Heathrow Terminal 4 and on towards the M4 at junction 15. That's again after a breakdown, and the anti-clockwise queue still there. Along the bottom, junction 8 at Reigate through to Godstone at junction 6. Warner Merchant, 5 Live Travel.
BBC 5 Live. The Ashes are back, and so are the Tailenders. Welcome to Tailenders. Join Greg James, Felix White and Jimmy Anderson for an alternative look at the Ashes.
Would you back yourself to take the final catch more than bowl the final ball? Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. It's absolute scenes, Greg. Tailenders. Download and subscribe now using the BBC Sounds app.
Shall we sing?
Tailenders!
And this is Tailenders, BBC Radio 5 Live. We warned them not to put us on.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, we can talk ashes now, and let's speak to our very own harbinger of doom, Eleanor Oldroyd.
Oh, thanks, Tony. Yeah, I'm sorry to tell you that it's 8 wickets down now for England, 230 for 8, and the debutant Jofra Archer is the latest man out. He was caught by Khawaja off the bowling of Pat Cummins for 12, and Alex Stewart is sitting alongside me, former England captain. The Australians,
I would say, and it's really very good Australian bowling. They've bowled to their plans, they've stuck to their plans, and they also dropped a couple of catches, so it could be a lot worse.
Yeah, so we saw a good opening, a good partnership between Rory Burns and Joe Denley. 66 they put on for the 3rd wicket. We saw a 72-run partnership for the 7th wicket between Chris Woakes and Johnny Bairstow. You need more than that, don't you, really? You need your middle order to turn up, and again, they haven't today.
They haven't, but you need hundreds. That's what you got. Test cricket, though we lost yesterday, it's still 4 days old. There's 98 overs a day, so it's not as though you have to bat in a rush. You just have to make sure that you bat sensibly. Yes, be positive in your mindset, but also you be positive in defence. And it just doesn't look as though England want to bat time, apart from Rory Burns. I thought Burns played well, and I thought Denley was very good. And that partnership, Bairstow and Woakes, was nice. But you need your top 6 to really dominate. You need 2 people scoring hundreds in a top 6 if you're serious about posting a big competitive first innings score.
Alec, it's Tony here. It looks likely, doesn't it, that we might see a bit of Jofra Archer tonight. Will there be anything there from you? Say there's not a lot in the pitch?
No, there's not really, Tony. It was one of those where I think if it'd been a 5-day game, as again it hadn't been washed out yesterday, Australia probably would have batted because it's a pretty dry surface. When England played Ireland here, a couple of 3 weeks ago or so, they had a real green tinge, and Joe Root moaned about that surface at the end. Whereas this one has not got a green tinge at all. It's dry underneath. We've seen a little bit of spin for Nathan Lyon, but they took the attacking option. They're trying to turn it into a 3-innings game. Bowl England out cheaply, then bat big themselves, and then try and bowl England out a second time.
Well, listen, we're just going to move away from the cricket briefly, but Ellie, I hope you don't mind, but yes.
He's wearing red today, Tony, I should tell you that.
Yes, I'm going to be very, very honest. I was very close to sending you a tweet last night when it went to penalties, thinking Chelsea must win this. I can send you a message, but I couldn't because Tammy Abraham missed that penalty.
He did, but I'll tell you what, just as a neutral, I thought they did play well. They were speedy, and Mason Mount looks a real player.
He was very good, very good. But another defeat, but a lot of promise still. As long as they finish ahead of Burnley, then are you happy?
That's a big if at the moment, I would say.
235 for 8, Tony, is the score, just to tell you that. Johnny Bairstow has just gone on to 49, so he's just one short of his 50. One positive thing, one more batsman to come after this with Stuart Broad out there at the moment. It's Jack Leach, of course, hero of the Ireland Test match as night watchman.
Man of the match.
He was.
Batting, not his bowling.
We'll wait with interest. Guys, thank you very much. I think we're back in 20 minutes or so at Lord's, unless something happens in between. Right, it's 5:27.
Tony, I've got an almost 2-year-old that's going to love this next story because scientists think it'll take at least 20 years to excavate new dinosaur fossils discovered in the United States. Now, an international team say there may be over 100 dinosaurs buried on the site in Wyoming, including some new species. And Emma Bernard is the curator of fossil fish at the Natural History Museum and was actually on the dig. Emma, that must have been an amazing experience.
Yeah, good evening. It was an absolutely fantastic experience. You mentioned your 2-year-old. Certainly I can remember when I was about 3-4 years old, and it was my dream to go out to America and basically dig up dinosaurs. So I'm definitely living my dream job.
So tell us about the experience. What was the dig like, and what types of dinosaurs did you find?
Yeah, so the environment out there is a little bit challenging. So it's very warm, like at least 30 degrees each day, and it's a very rugged, rocky landscape. And we actually had to spend the first week or 2 actually just excavating all the rock and overburdening on top of the fossils. So I got very handy with a bucket and spade and a wheelbarrow excavating down. And then when we finally got down to the layer where you can find these dinosaurs, what we found were large sauropod dinosaurs. So these are things like Brachiosaurus, Diplodocus, so these long neck and long tailed dinosaurs.
And, I mean, were you the first person to lay your eyes on these finds, or, I mean, how did you stumble across them?
So there's been a team out there from the Children's Museum in Indianapolis and colleagues in the University of Manchester for the last couple of years. But due to the size of these animals, it will take several years to excavate them. So we already knew that there were some of these sauropods out there, and I was part of a team basically looking for any other dinosaurs and helping to excavate more of these larger dinosaurs.
So what was it like? Just take me back to that site in Wyoming. You know, you've got your bucket and spade, you're there at the side. I mean, what's running through your head when you're sort of brushing a bit of dirt away and suddenly you see a fossil that's 150 million years old?
It's just so exciting because you're the first person to have ever seen that fossil. So for me, it really encourages me to keep on going and digging more to find more and more of these amazing animals.
So we said it would take 20 years, won't it, to sort of completely have a look at this site and dig out all the fossils. Why will it take so long? How big is this site?
So the site is actually a square mile, and there's 2 quarries that are currently being worked, where we've got 2 large sauropod dinosaurs. So these are only maybe about 30 metres or so in diameter, but there's lots of other sites that we can keep exploring. So what we were also doing was doing a bit of exploratory work. So we were walking the sites and trying to find for bits of bone or some of the key features that there might be something else lurking underneath the ground.
Emma, what actually happened in this square mile? Did they all fall down a big hole or something? Well, why are they all together?
Yes, so about 150 million years ago, the landscape in northern Wyoming looked very different to what it is today. So today, if you sort of picture any cowboy type Western film, it's that sort of rugged landscape. Yes. However, 150 million years ago, they were sort of forests that were there, so it was quite green and lush, and there was river systems that would run through it, and these river systems would come and go over the years. And during one of these sort of flash floods from a river system, we think basically just swept up some of these dinosaurs, took them downstream, and they basically drowned and got caught in log jams.
Wow.
And we can find out that they were actually caught in these log jams because we can find fossil trees right beside these dinosaurs.
That is some flash flood that can pick up a
diplodocus.
Yes, to carry 100 of them downstream. Emma, that must have been a bit nightmarish.
Yeah, I think definitely. I'm not too sure I would have liked to have been round about then.
Well, great to talk to you.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
It's 31 minutes past 5.
On digital, BBC Sounds, smart speaker and online.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Well, let's get the headlines then on Drive this afternoon. The Department of Health says it's absolutely committed to reducing drug use and the harms it causes. It's been responding to new figures showing drug deaths in England and Wales are at a record high. There were more than 4,000 last year. Authorities in Gibraltar have released an Iranian tanker which is carrying around 2 million barrels of oil. The Grace 1 was seized last month over suspicions that it was taking its cargo to Syria, which goes against EU sanctions. The territory's Chief Justice says he's